is how you make millions while maintaining a work-life balance. I know this topic of work-life balance is super important to people because there's not a business owner that I talk to that doesn't have these questions around how do I run my business, how do I become a millionaire while still fill in the blank, being a good mom, being present for my children, being able to spend time with my families, being able to have a social life, meeting new people, having hobbies and activities. And so this is a concept that I feel like business owners really struggle with, leaders really struggle with, and I'd like to give some perspective because I think that I have figured out a way to master this to where I don't ever feel out of balance. And if there are moments where I'm overwhelmed or I'm stressed out, I actually know how to cope with those things. So let's just dive into this for a second. This idea of work-life balance, I think it's important to understand what is balance. Now, in true Natalie fashion, I looked up the word balance. Here's an interesting definition of the word balance. Balance, a condition in which different elements are equal or in the correct proportions. So here's this funny thing, the correct proportions. Who's defined for your life what the correct proportions of you spending time in different areas are? Did your mom tell you that? Did a school teacher tell you that? Like, who's dictating what the quote unquote correct proportions are? Where is these correct proportions coming from? When I think about this, I think of my correct proportions related to the goals that I have. So the first thing in this conversation around work-life balance has to come down to, what are your goals? Where are you trying to go? Because once I've identified, as I've said, helping business owners, it is the most important thing to me in my life right now. It's what everything is focused on. If that's the case, then when I'm coming up against what people want as an 8-hour workday, I'm like, wait a second, my correct proportion in order to achieve my target is actually a 14-hour workday. That is balance for me based on what the target is. And so once I know that, I actually am underperforming if I'm not working or outworking or spending more time doing the thing that I need to be doing based on somebody else's goal. If somebody only wants to help 20 people versus somebody else who wants to help 1 million people, the correct proportion to help 1 million people, logic would state that you would need to spend more time and energy figuring that out, dialing that in, because there's more scale there versus the person who's determined, I want to help 20 people, but it's really important for me to spend time doing this hobby that I have. I want to become the best electric guitar player that the world has ever heard. Okay, well, the correct proportion of that is likely going to be 10 hours a day, whereas for me on the electric guitar side, it's going to be 0. Those are like total goose eggs. I'm not spending any energy there because that's not what my target is. So first thing, identify what your goals are. What do you actually want to have happen? Forget this idea of work-life balance. Stop comparing yourself to the people that you grew up with, to the people you went to school with, even to your coworkers, because your goals are not their goals. So this idea of balance in comparison to somebody else makes no sense. Once you figure out what it is you actually want, then you have to figure out, okay, I want this thing, but I need potentially something else. I'll give you an example. I want to help all of these business owners, but I also need to be a good daughter. I also need to be a good wife. I also need to be present for these other people in my life. And so there's these wants, but then there are these needs. Now, when I'm going through this practice of assessing the balance in my life, the first thing I ask myself is, when it comes to the needs that I have, how much time do those things actually take? I sometimes can be a bad wife. I can be unattentive. I cannot be paying attention to the details. I cannot be maybe making the house the way that it should be or planning date nights. Like, I will forget those things. And when I do forget those things, instead of those moments when I'm not good, where I potentially might feel out of quote unquote balance, I'm not just gonna like over exaggerate that in my head to say, oh, I'm just such a terrible wife. I'm the worst wife because I did this thing wrong and maybe Brandon's upset. Of course, that's not gonna be what I think. I'm gonna readjust the time I have to put into the things that I need to do. Now, of course, you want to do those things too. You want to be a present wife, you want to be a good mother to your kids, or helpful to your grandparents, or whatever those things are. But once you've identified those needs, and maybe you're over prioritizing your wants more so than your needs, sit down and have an honest conversation with yourself about how much time those needs need to take from you, and be realistic. Is it an hour a day? Is it 15 minutes a day? Is it 2 hours a day? Because when you can actually put time to it, it's not just hours spent, it's quality time, it's energy towards that thing. I'm certain that you can find time that you're wasting in other places in order to dedicate it to those needs, so that you can still put the activity in for where you want to go, cover off your needs, and cut away any of the fluff. See, those are the sacrifices that you have to make. Like, what are you really willing to give up for what you want? It shouldn't be, and does not have to be, the things that you need. It's likely spending too much time on this in areas that are not helping you get to where you want to go. It's scrolling on Instagram, it's scrolling on TikTok, it's checking your news, it's playing games, it's just like mindless activity. Those are the types of things that you need to stop doing in order to spend more time getting to where you want, because you don't have to create this fictitious picture in your head that you can't have what you want and fulfill the obligations for the things that you need, which are also things that you want. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to get clear on what balance means for you. In order for you to do that, you're gonna have to understand what your goals are. Now, there's goals and what you want, and then there's needs. So documenting what my goals are, what my wants are, where do I wanna be, but then also having that place for, okay, these things cannot get dropped. These balls that I'm juggling, these things that I'm doing every single day, these are still priorities while I do these things. And your third list is gonna be the things that you are wasting your time on. Where are you spending time that you could be dedicating towards one of these two areas so that you are actually able to hit the income targets that you have? Those things are always the hardest things to identify, because normally the things that you like to do are the things that you want to spend the most time doing, because they provide comfort, they provide release. Sometimes going after your goals and dreams and also caring for the people that need you in life can feel overwhelming and can sometimes be stressful. So we choose these comfort things. Forget the comfort. That's what you're willing to sacrifice. I'm challenging you to sacrifice those comfort pieces so that you can actually have the life that you want. In order to do that, you gotta get uncomfortable. So let me know in the comments what it is that you are going to give up, because in order to get to where you want to go, you're going to have to make sacrifices. With that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. More videos are coming your way. Also, there's the little bell with the notifications. You should get notified every time there's a new video, because there is some awesome content that is going to be released on this channel. And how would you know if you didn't subscribe? So subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll see you next time.